There are so many ways to make a character in Elder Scrolls Oblivion, and in this video today, I'm going to show you one of those. As part of an ongoing series, I'll be rolling out some builds to help give you some direction in your playthrough, whether this is your first or your 10th. Just a bit of transparency up front, I'm not going to be showing off specific items or playstyles because this game is so much about exploration and finding out what works for you. Also, items are going to come at you at random intervals unless you go for specific quest ones, so I don't want to curtail that experience for you. Instead, I'm going to be talking about preferred abilities, skills, birth signs, and specializations, while offering you alternatives if you want to take the build in different directions. Today's build will be my Death Knight Battlemage, themed roughly around the Death Knight from Warcraft lore, utilizing heavy armor, summons, whatever weapon you want, and a panoply of spells to choose from. In my typical fashion of upfronting the knowledge in my videos, let me go through the build on a very high level for you right now. So as you can see before you, we'll be choosing endurance and willpower as our two abilities, and then our specialization will be on magic. As far as our major skills go, we'll be going with alteration, blade, conjuration, destruction, heavy armor, and restoration. I have mysticism right here. This is a wild card. You can choose whatever you want in this location. It can be block or what have you. As far as your race goes, I'd recommend Dark Elf or Briton, and for birth sign, I'd recommend Warrior, Apprentice, Atronach, or Atronach, Atronash, whatever one it is, or Lord, depending on your comfort with the game. But that's too long didn't watch this entire video, and if that's all you wanted to know, please feel free to shut the video down. I want to be respectful of your time. You can also navigate to any part of this video that interests you the most using the chapters in both the timeline and the description. If you do end up heading out, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe, as each one of those things helps me out in a huge way. Lastly, if you've not yet purchased the game, you can find a link to Fanatical in the description and pinned comment, which will get you a Steam version of the game for 17% off, and I make something like, like a 4% commission, which goes directly towards my Mini Aussies toy fund. Let's get started on my ultimate Death Knight build for Oblivion Remastered. To start us off, let's talk about our race selection. Now, please let me tell you that you're going into a game, you're going to stare at a character for the majority of the time. If any of the things I recommend don't fit the build, then play exactly how you want. It's not going to be so huge or drastic of a change that you have to really worry about the min-max experience of this. If you like playing a Khajiit, then play a Khajiit Death Knight. Who gives a crap? It's play the game how you want, not how the internet tells you to. But let me just open this up really quick. We're going to press F to open stats. I don't know what it is on console. It's whatever it is down there. And we can see the difference in all of our attributes as well as all of our skills are going to get benefits. Anything that says +5, that's just the generic amount that you're always going to get for every single character. Ignore that. We're looking at anything that says +10 or higher. Those are the big things that get benefits here. And swapping our origin is not going to swap our skills, as you can see. It's going to swap our stats. So for Breton being the first race I want to talk about, this is going to give us a bonus to intelligence, willpower, and a magicka bonus. If I switch to High Rock, we see we lose some strength, and we're basically swapping that speed and strength. I would recommend for this build Sistress, because we want strength on the build, and intelligence, willpower, and magicka bonus are some of the best things about this. Also, it doesn't show it here, but they have a 50% resistance to magicka built into them, which is great, and they work really well with a lot of the birth signs we'll talk about later. The other one I really like for this is the Dark Elf. Oh wait, let me show this first. Hold on, sorry. This part that's right there, it says skilled at summoning and healing magic. So they get a +10 to conjuration and a +5 to alteration, to alchemy, to illusion. They also get +10 to mysticism and restoration. Pretty much all of the ones that we'll be taking, for the exception of illusion and alchemy, are getting benefits here. So it's really nice for focusing on more of the spell casting aspects of this class. Alternatively, we have the Dark Elf, which focuses on more of the offensive portion. Blade gets a +10 right here. Athletics gets a +5. Yeah, that was right. But also we get a good bonus to destruction at a +10, as well as mysticism getting a +5, and light armor and marksman getting a +5. We're not going to be using light armor, but we want that blade bonus. It's going to be really nice out the gate. Also, they do get a bonus to fire resistance, and they can summon up an ancestral ghost as something that's part of who they are as a Dunmer, which is the name for a Dark Elf. And our origins, Varfendel here gives us a bonus to speed. Our willpower and intelligence are lower here. If we switch to mainland, we're going to basically swap our personality penalty You can see how that kind of works. I personally went with a Dark Elf because I wanted to look like a Dark Elf. I wanted the visual appeal. I think the more min-max option is the Breton. People really like that one, but some other alternatives just to quickly throw them out here. The High Elf is really good for the 100 Magicka bonus, and you get plenty of benefits to all the spellcasting stuff. You do take a weakness though to Fire, Frost, and Shock. It's worth noting that as well. Imperials are really good for melee hybrid casters because they do focus on a lot of those melee portions, but they do get bonuses to stuff like Mercantile and Speechcraft, which is kind of cool. But heavy armor bonus here is really great, and blade bonus is really great. They don't get anything to the actual spellcasting portion of it. I just wanted to throw that one out there. Red Guard's cool because they do get their Adrenaline Rush, which is really good for melee. Nord is surprisingly good at being a like a paladin character because they get a +5 to restoration and a +10 to heavy armor, which we will be using in this build. And if you want to use blunt or blades, you can see they all get the benefits of all of the martial stuff. So those are some alternative recommendations for races outside of the two that I really focus on, but please, as always, choose the one that fits your playstyle and the one that you want to look at for the entirety of the hundreds of hours you're going to put into this game. So now that we've talked about our race, let's go into specialization and attributes. So specialization, like it says here, choose your specialization. All 7 skills of your specialization receive an initial 5-level bonus and increase more rapidly. What that means is there are 21 skills in the game. There are 7 in each one of these specializations. Since we're going to focus primarily on magic in my version of this build, I have magic as a specialization. Conversely, though, you could go with combat if you wanted to focus more on blade/blunt, heavy/light armor, block. If you wanted to pull more levels and increase those rapidly because you're like, okay, I want to be a Spellblade, a Battlemage, whatever it is, but I want to focus more on the combat version and not the magic version, versus my choice is to go magic version. So that's a really dealer's choice right there. And this just means that whatever the base skill is, it gets +5 bonus plus increase more rapidly. So even if we don't choose it as a major skill, an example would be alchemy. We've not chosen that as a major skill, but it will still increase rapidly and get a +5 level bonus. Now for our attributes here, I've selected willpower and endurance. Willpower is going to help regenerate our magicka, and it will greatly increase your max fatigue. That is going to help us out a lot because we are going to be in melee, we're going to be swinging, we're going to be blocking, it's going to be nice. And endurance here is going to increase your max health as well as how quickly you regenerate out of combat. Both these are going to work in conjunction to give us lots of magicka and health regeneration, lots of endurance to play with, which we can also fortify with our spells, and also plenty of max health so that we can absorb damage. Now, some alternatives that you can go with are strength here to increase the damage of any and all of our weapons. Specifically, this is going to help out with longswords and claymores from the blade department, or maces, war axes, and battle axes, warhammers from the blunt department. Just know that. Short swords and daggers fall under agility because it says right there, daggers, short swords. We won't be focusing on those, but I want to let you know that. Also, this does help out with your carry capacity and increases your max health slightly. Since we are going to be wearing heavy armor, it's a good, or at least a very well contested attribute. I would swap willpower for strength if I wanted to go this route. And conversely too, I would swap willpower for intelligence if I really wanted more max magicka. What's important to know is how the calculation for magicka regeneration works. While willpower does help regenerate your magicka, intelligence inadvertently helps regenerate your magicka because your magicka regeneration rate is dependent upon your max magicka plus like a willpower equation, so on and so forth. So having more magicka actually does help out and increase the regeneration rate of it. So just know that. So those are the attributes. Let's now go into our major skills. So the major skills that I've selected, and we'll go into our wild card at the very end of this, starting off with blade. Now, blade can be chosen between blade or blunt. Do you want to use two-handed maces and so on and so forth, go into the axes, or do you want to stick with swords? It's a choice that you can make. I always love blades because I've played this game a million times, so I know a lot of the Daedric artifacts, a lot of the cool weapons that come with blade. But with a lot of the DLC and FLC, free content that they added to the game, they did add plenty of fun blunt weapons. And I think blunt got a revamp here in the remaster. So we'll go through both very quickly. Blade here, though, is going to give us basically an increase to our power attack, and it's going to cause weakness to normal weapons, which our blades are. And then it's also going to help give us a chance to bleed things, which is really cool as we progress through this. That's the big focus for Blade. Now, just to quickly show off Blunt for continuity's sake, the nice thing about Blunt is it now gives you a shield. So you power attack, deal more damage, and Blunt weapons are more durable. And just full transparency here, it might have always given you a shield, and I've just not played Blunt enough, and I'm dumb. So I apologize if I'm wrong there. Go ahead and let me know in the comment section below for future videos. Your regular attacks have a chance to silence targets as well, and your shield granted by your power attack is even stronger. So you get a lot of really great capabilities out of this. You can silence a caster by hitting them with an axe or a mace, and that's an awesome capability, so they're not going to be pouring damage into you. For our armor choice, I've chosen heavy armor. I really like the feel and the fit and the theme of it. It's just really what I want to go with. Keep in mind, we will talk about this with magic effectiveness. It will bring down your magic effectiveness until you bring it to master. But as you progress through heavy armor, your heavy armor will degrade at a normal rate, but also it will start to no longer encumber you. And once you get to master, it no longer encumbers you, period. And it's an amazing point in the game. It feels really good. For our first actual spellcasting choice, we have Alteration. Now, Alteration is going to help us out with a lot of defensive stuff, right? All of the shield spells are going to be locked behind Alteration. It can help us out with fortifying. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's Restoration. It can help us out with reducing encumbrance. It can help us out with opening locks, which isn't a big focus for me on Alteration because I eventually get a specific item in the game. But it is great to be able to kind of pop those locks open early in the game without worrying about security. It's a really great one, and I think it's one that you'll just kind of constantly be using on yourself as you just play through. It's nice to be able to jump into it. Now, while Alteration is a nice to have, Conjuration is absolutely disgusting in Oblivion. You can summon up tons of really fun things. You can summon up tons of really cool skeletons, all sorts of fun stuff, and that is a really fun portion of Conjuration. And I'll showcase this a little bit more later, but we'll be able to also choose bound weapons and armor that will encase us, so we have really strong armor that looks really goddamn cool. You'll be able to summon really strong summons as well, like really cool skeletons, but you can also summon Daedra, Spider Daedra, all sorts of fun stuff. And it's, again, a really powerful school in this game. Destruction here is just so thematic for this build. We have tons of touch spells, tons of range spells, tons of weakening to the opponent, so we can cast something that weakens their resistance to frost. And, you know, if I'm thinking of a frost death knight, then I want to focus on all the frost abilities, and you can do that quite easily. Remember too, Oblivion, as it differs from Skyrim, allows us to craft spells, so we can craft very specific touch spells that both weaken and do damage. Now, this amount will be lowered because of our magic effectiveness until we get into master armor, but still, it's just a really cool and fun capability. And it also, another big point of Destruction, you can use a sword and a shield and a two-handed weapon and cast all of your destruction spells without worrying. So it allows you to use a two-handed weapon and still cast a touch spell, or a sword and shield and still cast a touch spell. It's a very, very fun portion of this build. Now, our last compulsory quote-unquote ability is Restoration. Now, this allows us to restore health, which is great, right? But also you can fortify your attributes. So being able to fortify your endurance is really good. It used to give you a damage buff. It doesn't do that anymore. But the nice thing about fortifying your endurance is allows that you can actually jump into combat and really swing for the fences for a longer period of time until you get more skill. It's nice in the very early game, but also cures diseases and improves your resistances, so you can really stack some fun stuff. Both Destruction and Restoration get really strong late game spells, especially Destruction. They have two spells that are bound to quests. I don't know if they fixed Finger of the Mountain in this remaster, but that used to have a really good, it used to be a really strong spell, but it used to be the highest magic cost of any spell. And Restoration has a ton of really cool effects as well, so it's why they work so well hand in hand. Now, for our last skill, I've put Mysticism into here because I want the ability to bind souls on a higher scale. You can reflect damage and absorb magic, which is a really cool portion of this, and that felt very magic spell shield or the magic dead zone that the Death Knight gets in WoW. But binding souls is a big portion of this game because you bind souls and that puts them into soul gems, and you use the soul gems to reinvigorate all of your magic weapons. It's a big portion of this. You can get bind soul at just a simple apprentice, but Journeyman gives you a range version, and that's why I like Mysticism in this build. You don't need to go with it if you don't want. You could just simply use the touch version of it and be totally fine. I think just the novice level has touch version and you're good. So that's why I really like Bind Mysticism in this build, and I like how it scales out reflecting and stuff like that. An alternative would be block. So if you want to use more of a sword and board style of play, which I definitely recommend, it's a really cool way to play. Block is very good because it allows you to eventually do a good shield bash, and that shield bash is really, really good. It staggers them, opens them up, and you can do some fun damage. Another alternative you could choose is alchemy, because alchemy is very, very strong in this game. But because of our specialization, I've actually not chosen alchemy. The choice here was because alchemy can actually level very quickly, and I didn't want to superficially bloat my character. Don't worry if you do choose athletics, alchemy, acrobatics, or sneak. All those level up very quickly, and they can superficially bloat your character, but not in any way like it used to be. It used to be really, really, really bad. It's much better now and scaled down. Don't worry about it. I've chosen those skills before, and it's in a time when they didn't have that fixed scaling, and I've been totally fine. So do not worry about it if you want. Last option here is Armorer, because this is going to give us Master Armorer so that you repair everything with just simply one hammer, and you can push things beyond their max durability. This is a great route to take. It's just part of the options for your wild cards on your major skills. So when it comes to Birthsign, it's going to really be dictated based off of what you feel for the character. Do you want to play more melee? Then I really recommend that you go with the warrior. It fortifies your endurance and your strength. That's always nice. If you want to focus more, or actually another really good one for melee is the Lord. The Lord used to be terrible. It is no longer terrible. Increases your armor rating by 15 and increases your magic resistance by 15%. All really good ones. Now, alternatively, if you want to go heavy into spell casting or just have better spell casting period, anything in these three right here is really good. So for example, the mage just simply gives us 50 more magicka to take advantage of. It's the easiest one to just simply turn on more mana. Easy, done, good. Now, the latter two here are a little bit more, I don't want to say they're harder to play, but you need to know a little bit more on how to mitigate their penalties. So increases magicka by 100 points and increases susceptibility to magic by 100 points. So this basically reduces your resistance by 100%. So if you're playing, say, a Breton, you'll offset this. And you'll get a total of 150 magicka because you're a Briton, and then that susceptibility to magic will only be 50%. So you then would have to supplement that further in the game. It's a real great way to get a ton of magic, but you just have to, again, worry about that weakness to magic. Lastly, we have the Atronach. How do you guys pronounce it? I've always called it Atronach. I've heard someone pronounce it Atronach. So you let me know in the comment section below. Are you a Nosh or a Knock? But on this Birthsign, you increase your magicka by 150. Also, you no longer regenerate magicka, but you have spell absorption. So 50% chance of absorbing spells cast at them. Absorbing that spell allows you to absorb it and get mana from it. So it's a really cool mechanic, and it works so well with Breton. So if you want to go with that route, I definitely recommend it. It's just like I said, you just need to know a little bit more about how to navigate not having that magicka regenerate, how you're going to get sorcery potions, if you're okay relying on those, and what have you. So those are all just really easy Birthsigns you can jump into. I mean, you could even go with something like this, the Lady, right? Which fortifies the attributes that I recommended you take. So this whole center region is pretty good, for the exception of the snake. Don't take the serpent. But all four of these down the pipe are great. Just depends. Do you want to focus more on melee? Which, you know what? I'll be honest. If I was going to focus on melee, it would be warrior, lord, or lady. I'd say the three of those fit better in like a melee thing. And if I wanted to go on casting, it'd be mage, apprentice, or Atronach, again, whatever you choose. Jumping over here to our magic tab, I want to talk very quickly about spell effectiveness. Let's go ahead and press G, show us spell effectiveness. So it says limited to 95% if you are wearing armor. Can be even less below journeyman level. Current armor is 1 light piece, novice minus 7%, apprentice minus 13%. So if I had all heavy armor pieces on, this would be even further, right? But this is saying that every point basically I've got below journeyman, so novice, apprentice, then journeyman, it is more of an impact against this spell effectiveness. And what this means too is it doesn't affect the cost, it affects the effect. So let's go ahead and just look at one of these. Does this have a round number on it? No, it does not. Shield, okay. Of course it's 5%. That's like a terrible, okay, cool. Dispel on self, 25 points. So spell effectiveness just means that that spell is 85% effective. So if we're looking at 25, I would take whatever 85% of that is, which is 21.25. It rounds it down to 21. It's not that huge. It's basically just saying all of your spells are going to be nerfed the delta of 80 of that number to 100, right? So in this case, 15%. It's 15% less effective because the spell effectiveness is 85%. Our heavy armor is going to cause this, but we're going to get to a point that it's going to become null and void very quickly. It's only going to be, like it says, limited to 95% if you are wearing armor, regardless of whether it's light or heavy, in varying amounts for light or heavy. But still, my point remains is that we're going to get that to 95%, so all of our spells will be 5% less effective. So I'm not too worried about it, but I wanted to explain how that works in case you see it in the Magic tab and you don't understand why it's such a high amount at an early point in the game. Now, just quickly to talk about the spell school of Conjuration, because I feel like of all the spell schools, you might be like, okay, well, how does this really work? I'm new to Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered. Well, we get a lot of really cool stuff. We can summon up bound armor. We have bound weapons that we can choose from. Reanimate here is part of the Staff of Worms. You can't get that as a standalone spell unless they've added it in a remastered and I don't know about. Turning undead is cool, but what you really get is summoning zombies and skeletons and ghosts and scamps, which will eventually evolve, right, into Dremora or Flame Atronach or headless zombies or skeleton guardians. Eventually you'll get all the way down to master here and be able to summon liches or the gloom wraith or a Dremora lord. So you can see that this scales very awesomely with the character, and it feels very thematic to playing a Death Knight, being able to summon up all this undead to do your bidding. And again, all the summons in this, I have not shopped at Dell in forever. Why is this asking? I do not like Dell computers. But still, regardless of all that fact, all these guys are really good. The summons are going to carry you through the early portions of the game if you're not playing on, if you're playing above Adept. Like on Expert or Master, the summons are like compulsory. They're really needed. And they're really good throughout the entirety of the game because they scale very well. They do good damage. And it's just going to be able to, you can be able to summon them up and keep them up. So I really wanted to showcase how great, not Dells. I don't want you to buy a Dell. Don't even easy order that crap. I wanted to really showcase though, how this really fits into the build and how they really become awesome later on. But at that, it brings our video here to a close. So hopefully that helps you in determining how to set up a Death Knight in Elder Scrolls Oblivion. I know I didn't go through tons of armor and items and show a bunch of gameplay and stuff like that, because for me personally, it's going to be such a personal experience and how you're going to approach the game, what you're going to do. I don't want you to play how I'm going to play. I'm going to show you kind of the breadcrumbs on how to get to a theme for a character. And go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. This is my first ever Oblivion build. Are there certain things you would like to see in these videos that I didn't showcase? Do you really want to see some gameplay? I think realistically it is going to be hard for me to make gameplay for a bunch of different builds because I need to get those characters online to a certain point to make it look appealing to you, and that I don't have the kind of time for that. So let me know other things you'd like to see, if this was just the right amount, whatever it is. I do tons of builds on the channel for games like Baldur's Gate 3 and what have you. So this isn't something I'm terribly new to, but it's just the game itself that I'm new to covering for. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.